Let's have the meeting to order. I'll ask for a prayer. Who is praying? Or Pastor Kotora can pray for us.
Tinamati. Mwari wamasimba wose tinokutendai panguva yemasikati ano. Tinotenda nekuda kwemeeting ino yatakutanga. Tinokumbira nyasha pakati pedu nokutungamirirwa nemweya mutsvene. Tinokumbira zano zive neuchenjeri zvinobva pachigaro chiri Mwari wamasimba wose mutsvene. Tichakurukura pano tizviite Mwari wamasimba wose neuchenjeri hunobva kwamuri kuti zviite kuti basa rose mukati meguta rikufamba zvakanaka zvikofadza vose vagere mukati meguta. Tinopa mbiri kwamuri Mwari wamasimba wose kuti kana muri pakati pedu hakuna chatinoita nenzira isiriyo, asi tikatungamirirwa namweya mutsvene zvose tinozviita mugwara rakafanira. Mazvika mukutwe nekuti makatendeka muzita ramambo Jesu, amen.
Chamber will read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that a special meeting of council will be held in the council's chamber, townhouse, on Thursday, 2 June 2022 at 12 noon.
Read the provisions of the Act.
Section 84, subsection 4 of the Urban Councils Act, Chapter 2915, provides that no other matters other than those specified in the notice agenda shall be discussed at a special meeting.
Leave of absence?
Go to item 5, which is the motion, solid waste management, clearance of refuse, dumps across the city, and Pomona campsite status. The reports that have been circulated before council.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think in your iPad, phone, or whatever it is that you use, there are reports that have been prepared on the two items that we are to discuss. We are to discuss the item on the refuse dump. As you know, we've had a challenge around illegal dumps, and we need to clear. The residents are up in arms with the issue of illegal dumps, the issue of litter and rubbish in their neighborhoods. So we need a quick report on what progress we are doing on that issue. Then we have the issue, which is the second issue, which is the Pomona issue. The Pomona issue relates to the deal, contract, or whatever one might call it, or arrangement that is now there at Pomona. That is prevailing at Pomona. We need to look at it. We need to understand what's happening now and what's the way forward with that process. So I would not want to preempt discussion. I know on this special council meeting there was no agenda on correspondence, but I can assure you that I've received, or my office has received, petitions around this issue. I could not read them out as I'm advised that they are not part of the agenda. And this meeting is a meeting, or special council meeting, which sticks to the agenda that we have. But residents have raised various fora, petitions have come, letters have come. So we need to get a quick report that is coming. We can start with the dumps report, and then we move on to the Pomona issue. So, Yes. So the director is seated somewhere at the back. It's okay. I can give you permission to come here in front. Not here. I need you here. You are my lawyer. I just want him to explain the issues in a manner that he can be seen by everyone. Director, is it possible to come here? Watanganema dump site? Or maybe it's two people reading. Is it two people reading? Or it's one? So just quickly do the dump sites.
I'm standing in on behalf of the Director of Works. Not feeling so well today, so allow me to present on the status of the dump clearances. The city rolled out the schedule for dump clearances. The city is aware of the number of dump clearances, which are estimated to be a minimum of 515 mapped refuse dumps. This was as at the end of the year. However, we can, due to the recurrences and some new dumps, we can estimate that we are around 750 refuse dumps in the city as we speak. So it means that each and every ward is greatly affected. The refuse dumps have been mainly due to challenged adherence to the normal refuse collection schedule due to a number of factors. So as we speak today, we have had challenges in whereby we have to revise the schedule of the dump clearance, which is ward-based. For now, we are working with the ward-based refuse dump clearance schedule, which we revised on the 29th of May 2022 after receipt of 5 brand new tippers, the HR tipper trucks. As we are all aware, at times the consistency in the implementation of this program was hindered due to non-consistent availability of refuse dump removal equipment in the Amenities Division, Department of Works. So as of today, the 2nd of June, we have managed to tackle 11 wards as we speak today, and the 12th ward is in progress, which is Ward 43 as we speak today. In terms of the magnitude of the exercise, in Ward 35, we had to work on one refuse dump, and we did around 20 loads or 15 cubic meter capacity of tippers. So you can understand, we only had to manage that one area in that ward. So it really reveals the extent or the magnitude of the effort the city has to execute to ensure that we clear on the refuse dumps. The major challenges in terms of the progress we are making with the refuse dump clearance is that the tipper trucks are being serviced by relatively aged front-end loaders. So one of our equipment is on breakdown as we speak. So it is also affecting the effectiveness or the efficiency of the collection. The second issue is the non-availability of a nearby refuse disposal point. We are dependent on Pomona, which is quite distant from the west or the longest suburb, which I can say Highfield, Glenora, and Facus and the likes. So also the traveling time is also affecting the effectiveness in terms of our dump clearances. And then there are situations whereby we had to reserve the CBD and Mbari, that is mainly on Saturday and Sunday. This was meant to ensure that at least we cover as much ground in the respective wards. As a city, our priority is mainly CBD and Mbari, since they are high business activity areas. So as we might be walking the city or traveling in the city, we might see points like Market Square, Copacabana, they are also heavily affected. So we are also working internally to ensure that we augment the plant and equipment required to ensure that we are effective and efficient in terms of our dump clearances. Maybe I might hasten to say that we are also anticipating delivery of more tippers to augment the exercise. We also been relying heavily on the roads division in the Department of Works to ensure that at times we are also able to meet our target as the plan we have brought out in the residents. So I think, I hope I've managed to summarize. So in terms of success rate as a percentage, on the 10 areas we have done, we were hoping to target around 3 to 4 dumps, but we have been targeting, we have been actually managing 1 dump due to the complexity or the magnitude of the waste. So our success rate has been fair. I can put it around 50%. So we hope to improve as we go and as we also receive plant in the city. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm starting from this side, coming to
thank you, Your Worship.
my left.
I understand that there's a schedule that is circulating on the clearance of dumps. Whilst we take serious cognizance that failure to collect refuse means that we are exposing citizens into a situation which is hazardous in terms of health. So when I look at it, for example, on the schedule mentioned, in Highlands, we are scheduled for dump clearance in August from now. It shows that there is no urgency according to the schedule that was produced. To me, the schedule is not meaning anything to the citizens of my ward and other citizens of Harare. So I think there is need to revise that particular schedule and consider it as a matter of urgency when we talk about dump clearing for the health and betterment of our communities. I think that's my submission to it. And secondly, we have made a decision long back ago in terms of citing waste selection centers so that refuse can be picked by residents. They place them at waste selection centers where it is not dumped anywhere. But right now, I don't know the progress about it. People are dumping even at our offices, they are dumping at clinics, which is increasing the hazards in terms of health and the poor environment in our society. So I think there is something that is needed there. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm a bit concerned with this report because the report is not addressing urgent issues that we are currently facing as a city. It's more like it's a narration of the problems which we are currently facing as a city. But the solution side on how to deal with refuse collection, to listen. The solution side on how to deal with refuse collection. I don't know if anyone ever heard if there's any solution. It seems it's more like it's the usual talk show. And the else councillor for what is in Meborane, I am not prepared to leave this house with the other excuse to my residents. I want to leave this house with a solution. So we're supposed to come up with a solution. I understand, Amapunza Moyo, in your report, the solution side, there's totally nothing. Remember in our last previous council meeting, what we've agreed? We have agreed that we should do ring fence money that is being collected through refuse collection. An example is that in my ward, I have nearly 14,000 households, and they are charging each household equivalent to 11 US. Multiplying 11 US by 14,000, we are talking of almost 150,000 USD. the money which is almost enough to purchase a refugee collection truck. I understand that not all residents are paying rates. Maybe the percentage in terms of paying is around 40% or 50% from the information which I received from the revenue office. But it's still that 80,000 can actually go a long way in assisting refugee collection in my ward. There is no progress report from that resolution that we made 2 months ago. It was totally ignored. Again, we have also heard there are some trucks that have been purchased. Again, there is no report. We are sitting here as an official council business. There is no official report from your report. How many tipper trucks have been delivered? How many were purchased? How many refuse compactors were purchased? How many were delivered? From your report, there is nothing. Well, this is a special council meeting to deal with the refuse collection. You also said in your report that we also have a challenge of Pomona. The distance from Grandview to Pomona obviously is not making economic sense, understand? But it is also the same council again, which actually came up with a ban in the previous next report discussion ye Pomona. Yokuti takabhana chi kugadzwa kwemamwe machi ma-dam size. So taona problem ku dam size rekini riri kure handizvo. But at the same time tosaina kuti ma-agreement ndizvoka kuti as a city for 30 years atimbidza kudini kuvhura rimwe dam. Iye iriyo problem yatinayo mucity. So I'm saying this is part of solution to what we are discussing here. So maybe Tony Clegg, you can also help so that as we debate further, are we reducing my council business as my talk show as a solution? Because the type of report you are now upon, I see detailed to answer the crisis that in the refuse collection. Thank you.
Okay, so let me, with the 3 sets of questions, let me get them to answer. Let the TC will start and then we'll give you. The TC, the town clerk is here.
Thank you, Your Worship. Maybe let me address the issue as raised by Councillor Pomona Deal, then maybe the details can come. Sorry, Councillor Dazzlo. Yeah. All right. So the issue of ring fencing that was discussed in the special council meeting last time, I think that issue still has to go to the finance committee, and we're looking at transferring a report in that regard to seek authority of the finance committee. So this is a work in progress. Maybe Director of Works didn't mention today. Didn't mention the equipment that has been bought. Yes, we have received 4 tipper trucks, but at the other special council meeting, the Director of Works also indicated the number of equipment that is on the way. We have equipment which is likely to be ready by tomorrow, which is about 3 compactors, and other equipment in various stages of payment. And our main problem right now is sourcing of forex. I think Director of Works will give us a breakdown of the equipment that has been approved for payment and that is waiting delivery. Some of the equipment is still in South Africa with the suppliers. Then the issue of a solution. I think also the Director of Forest in the last special council meeting mentioned the solutions that we're trying to implement, and work is currently in progress to implement those projects. Basically what it is that we're changing our strategy of waste collection, whereby, as you mentioned, rightly mentioned, that our dump site is very far away. The change in strategy means that what we're going to do now is to take the compactors that do the door-to-door collections, but we're separating collection and transportation. What it means that the door-to-door collection will be done by the compactors, and the compactors are going to dump at a transfer station where we have heavy vehicles, 30-ton trucks, to be now transporting the refuse to the dump site. And then that will give us more time, cycle time within the residential areas. Because right now, a compactor is doing 2 trips per day, because the other 4 hours it is spending on the road from Budiriro to. So if we have the containers that are going to be transporting to, it means that we might be able to do up to 5 collections. I mean, for the equivalent of 5 trips that we are doing. Where we are doing two trips, we're going to be collecting 5. So that is part of the change of strategy. I think maybe you can also elaborate on that. And that also means that we are building transfer stations where the smaller trucks are going to come and dump into the bigger trucks. And I think it can give us progress on the 2 transfer stations that we are currently working on. Then I think I just wanted to touch on the solution part of it, and also that address Councillor Chalumbira's concerns that the schedule is too far for him, but I think the schedule is adjustable. As we receive more equipment, which we think within the next six weeks or so, we should receive a significant number of pieces of equipment, and I think we can compress the times that the schedule is always going to be revised as we receive more and more equipment. But I think maybe the engineer, maybe you can go through the list of equipment that we are expecting, and maybe if you can.
Yeah, I'll pick you. I just want them to answer. Sometimes the answers to your questions might be in their answers as well. So if we let them finish, so that yes.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. In terms of, I'll tackle the first question first. In terms of priority, like the city have highlighted that we are aware that each and every ward is equally affected. So somehow, the way we prioritize, we're trying to say we had some areas which we have touched on before, and we're also looking at areas where we have received letters from schools and clinics, where they were saying that there has been quite a time without clearances of dams. And then in terms of the solutions, our major challenge has been the motto, like the TC has highlighted, that our motto has been mainly linear and traditional. As we all can see that if you look at the time then when the motto was linear, and now there's been spatial developments in the city, and there's also been densification in the city. So at times when we deploy a truck where we're handling at least one refuse bag at a household, there are now 4 to 5 families at the same place. There have been cluster developments. So those are the things which have also been affecting us. Then we also need to take cognizance of the fact that our infrastructure in terms of roads, it has also been an effect to our fleet, whereby we're experiencing a lot of suspension-related challenges. So to cater for that, we are transitioning from the linear to a more circular approach, which we are calling an integrated solid waste management approach, whereby those who have been privy to the press a month ago, we released a tender whereby we are procuring a set of equipment compatible to the new philosophy which we want to implement as a city. you would find that we are going to be having skip compactors. If you look at the traditional skip trucks, we are ferrying one bin to the dump site. With the new equipment, we are going to be emptying the skip bin, and it's going to remain at the same spot, and that equipment is going to be able to offload an average of 8 bins. So it means we should be able to service Market Square, Copacabana, maybe at 4th with one truck against this current whereby we are only doing 3 trips. Then also in terms of the bulk haulage, we are looking at having hook loaders in the nearest future whereby we are targeting areas like Mbare, the high waste generation areas. We have Mbare, we have Msika, we have also the Mbare floods, whereby, and also we are going to put some at the transfer stations. We are going to empty our waste in these hook bins. Then the hook loader truck will also ferry this to Pomona, which is 30 tons. And then in terms of the equipment to which we have received, the city had to urgently procure 5 tipper trucks, which are the ECHA which we are currently using to manage the refuse dumps. Then the trucks which are on order and contract, we have 10 tipper trucks. Of the 10, 3 were paid, and in the next 6 weeks we are hoping to receive them. And then we have also 5 tipper trucks, 20 cubic meters from the same contractor. 3 were also paid, and they are also still in South Africa. We are hoping that in the next 6 weeks we should also be able to receive them. Then from a different contractor, we had also 5 refuse compactors. 3 of them were paid, and then we received them. Training was done. I think these are the ones which the TC has highlighted that we should be receiving them today or tomorrow for deployment in the nearest future. And then also we have a front-end loader, we have an excavator, we have 5 excavators and 1 grader, which we are hoping to receive again in the, maybe these ones I can say maybe in the next 8 weeks, we should be able to receive them. So we believe with this equipment, and also we are also making structural alignments within the city, whereby we are looking at, we now have a resident procurement expediter, which we believe as a city, it has really seen an improvement in our operations, although the impact is not yet felt, but internally we are seeing something. Then we are also working towards having a team which would include an accountant, because we've seen that the gap, our administrative gap was also playing a huge impact in terms of our delivery of the service. So in terms of solution, I have to close to say our major challenge was the model which we were using, which was purely linear. So as you are aware, when we had the fire sometime in August 2020, we could not dispose. So those are also some of the issues which we want to address with that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We had the answers. Probably could have answered some of the questions because we want to move on. Yes, and then we are now Pomona Deal, and who's behind? You're behind the cameras. Okay.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. In the report, the major problem in waste management is not general. I understand what you've said, but I want to profile a solution that might be a game changer in this waste management scenario. In the previous council, we have discussed about the adoption of trucks per ward, the compactors per ward. We would also want you to get into detail on how far you are on that, and how far the compactors that are available at the moment, whether dead or working, they can help us so that we adopt them as a ward. I have people in my ward who are ready to adopt a compactor. Then you failed to articulate. I thought that you said the linear, what is the problem? Waste management is now a business. So since it is a business, I was expecting you from the engineer to give us, in your report, issues to do with how to manage waste from the household level before we get them to be carried by our trucks. So I expected you to get deeper into the 2-bin system or a 3-bin system per household, so that each and every household can be in a position to separate waste from the household level, so that the majority of the waste can be disposed at household level. It can be sold for waste management to waste management companies. It's part and parcel of the solution that I would also want the house to adopt, so that the engineer can carry a research on that and how we can embark on a distribution of 2 bins or 3 bins per household. We encourage or teach each and every household to separate waste at household level, so that our vehicles or our waste management system is not overwhelmed. Then last but not least, yes, I understand that you've got transfer centers, but you do understand that in the Western region, you might have 1 or 2 transfer centers. Why don't you have a scenario of creating what I term in quotes community dump sites, whereby the compactor can carry the waste within my ward and dump them at a certain point, so that when the tipper trucks comes, they just remove that waste that has already been separated from that dump site to the main center, whatever you want to call it, whether it's Pomona or wherever you are going to create another. Then in conclusion, why don't you have a western side dump site specifically for the western side, so that we can be economically friendly and save money for the city and channel it to other developmental projects within the city? Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, Councillor Pomona.
Pomona is seated here, Your Worship.
So anyway, in any case,
So after you, it's your lookalike.
yeah, so I will not say much, Your Worship, because what I also wanted to say has been spoken already by Councillor Duma, which is relating to the trucks. Remember, there was a visit to the workshop, and councillors saw that whole array of trucks which are there. There are various forms in terms of functionality, and we also expected now the detail insofar as the milestone covered in repairing and recovering those trucks, those which had minor problems could have been fixed by now. We could have started seeing them working, because that is where we are supposed to focus so much to create sustainable refuse collection from the household. If we fail on that one, it will continue to create a situation where people will continue to dump waste and have dump sites at the end of the day, which we don't want. So as soon as we are able to clear these dump sites, what is more important is to have a sustainable collection schedule as suggested, so that we move on with this health for all to our citizens in Harare. So that breakdown, worship, is very important, so that we can see how far are we from creating or achieving sustainable refuse collection from our household. On that note, Your Worship, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Zvandaida kutaura zvimwe zvai zvataurwa, but ndanichifungidzira kuti ma-officials, either town clerk or director of works, vatipe detail rekuti chiri kuita kuti ma-refuse compactors asamuka chii. Inyaya dzekuti vanobhadhara vari kuramba kubhadhara here? Inyaya dzekuti vari kugadzira ndo vari kutadza kugadzira here dzimotikari? Inyaya yekuti ma-spare parts haasi kuwanikwa munyika here? Last year, Your Worship, takaita a tour ku-automotive workshop. Taenda ikoko, takawana kune refuse compactor yainzi yanga yapinda muna January 2019 ku-workshop. Yapinda ne-problem ye-diff, but yanga yakasimuka mavhiri ese isina mavhiri. Yakagujunurwa. So maresidents anenge aida kutakurirwa marara ende marara akawanda, so toda detail rekuti chiri kumboita kuti mota dzisamuka chii. Ndaifungidzira kuti decentralization yaifanira kudzoka yoworship, each mota each refuse compactor igare pawadi rayo, yagara pawadi rayo, mari iya yeward retention fund ibva yadzoka kumawards. Kana mota yaita problem igadzirirwe pawadi ipapo, oiswawo makanika anenge achiatenda. Even maresidents vanokwanisa kuita chip in council painenge yakaremerwa. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Chekutanga, it's a question to Town Clerk. I just need you to explain to this Honorable House, where exactly do you take your mandate to deliver your duty? Why am I asking this question? A few days ago, the people that were on my ward doing dump clearance, all of a sudden, just because whosoever was going to do whatever is doing in the other one, all those trucks, they've left my ward without finishing the duty that they were supposed to do. Now my question is, in government, there is a Ministry of Roads. Why do they not fix it for their president when he needs to go there? There is a Ministry of Environment. Why do they not clean the area for their executive person so that they cannot disturb my business for the people who voted for me? So I'm appealing on that. The Muguti issue, you must not take the orders very much than from this house. Then another question is, one day of dump clearance in each and every ward is not enough, Your Worship. Why am I saying so? You would find you get some are very big dumps, are mountains. Once you open them, you have exposed, I don't know what to call it, but you left the day without completing that dump. What did we do? We did nothing. Second, it's an issue about my fellow councillor Denford said about what are the solutions. Yes, we are removing dumps today, but tomorrow there is no compactor truck that is coming to pick that rubbish in the area. So please, let's resolve on that matter of compactors as a matter of emergency so that we can handle the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. That's I think that will be the last round of this issue so that we are able to move on. We can then summarize what are the concerns. I think the department you are hearing the concerns of the council and what the residents are complaining about. Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Firstly, I would like to appreciate the effort from this Department of Refuse since he's presenting closer to me so that he will continue working hard. Then my proposal is, during this process of clearing dumps in our various wards, I think they're supposed to spend the whole day in a certain ward which they propose to clear on that day. I'm giving a very good example in my ward. In their paper, they have already ticked that we collected refuse, we cleared dumps in Ward 13, but they just clear partially. I represent Southampton, Lokiniva, and Rugare, but they just clear partially in Rugare. They didn't go to Southampton, they didn't go to Lokiniva. So my suggestion is, they're supposed to spend the whole day, it's either in Kuanzana, Ward 37, or in Southampton, Ward 13, or in Glenview, whatsoever, what. So that when they come to us presenting that we are clearing dumps in a certain ones to make sure that they mean it. Thank you.
Thank you. Quite a mouthful, so you can just quickly respond. Some of the issues are take note, some of the issues need a specific response.
Thank you, Worship. I think the tax adoption per ward, we have borrowed the Residents Association whereby we are already implementing tax adoption. They have one track already, which we are using as a pilot run because there's already an existing memorandum of understanding with them. We managed to have a visit at the district office to see modalities that the truck should be parked there overnight, and perhaps maintenance can also be done there in line with the trajectory for decentralization. I think in the issue of not coming to a word, it being not enough, yes, the city acknowledges that. But for the city to be effective, at some point, the Director of Waste and the TC submitted a budget for hiring, which was hefty, and the Honorable House declined that budget for us to hire, to be able to clear the refuse dumps in the city. And the TC also took it upon himself to ensure that at least there was urgent procurement of the tipper trucks, the 5 which we are talking about. It's not enough, and we are aware of the milestone task which we need to work on as a city. Like we've alluded previously, the more we receive the equipment, mainly the tipper trucks are the ones which we have prioritized so that we are able to clear the dumps. And then also, as we receive the new equipment compatible to the new philosophy, I'm sure and confident that there's going to be an improvement in the issues of waste management. Indeed, sustainability is an issue which we are also working very hard as a city to ensure that it is there. There's no point to clear a dump in the next few weeks, it is resurfaced. So with this one, we'll work on it, and then we'll advise as we go through the necessary committee, the EMC. And then more so, we are recapitalizing in line with the decentralization like the TC is alluding. So the waste management division is also in a recapitalization mode so that we are able to service the city effectively. Most of our trucks are almost an average 10 years old, mainly the Isuzu trucks. And we have also engaged with FAO, which were the suppliers of the reasonably new fleet. And then we are hoping from the relationship after the engagement, we are going to also see an improvement in the availability of the same truck. And then in terms of repairs, from the last meeting, we had 5 refuse compactors. Today, we report that we have 10 out of 30. However, more have been released to duty, but the breakdowns mainly some from, like I said, the infrastructure. We are battling suspension-related challenges. We are all aware the main road, the Alps, which we use to, which is our main route to Pomona. So we have since also resorted to change the route so that at least we save on the suspension challenges. Your Worship, all the other issues we have taken note. I think we request to report them in the next EMC meeting.
Thank you very much. I think, thank you, Engineer, for that report. I can't emphasize issues of refuse collection more than what my fellow councillors have done. I think this is an urgent issue. It is not rocket science. We can't be discussing, you are engineers. We can't be discussing refuse collection at such a rudimental level in this day and age. It's very embarrassing. What we need to do is some of these things should be automatic. We should know these are scientific issues. How many trucks you need per day, how many tipper trucks, and so forth. I'm more persuaded that we need to buy our equipment. This hiring business has problems, not only unending investigations, allegations of corruption, tender issues, and as it will come out in the next topic, it's always a problem when we try to deal with the outside world. They think that the council is there for them to steal from. They don't understand that they are part and parcel of the community that should care about the council. So every time we say we want to hire, we run into serious problems. But if we are able to buy this equipment and make it work at clockwork, and then we need to accelerate the decentralization model. An ambulance at a district, a truck at a district, a tipper truck at a district, a compactor, a police truck, everything must be at district level. So I think, Town Clerk, the decentralization model must be accelerated. and this year there is delimitation. So it will help us in the right sizing of wards, okay? And that is one thing that you should also pay attention to. I understand there's been communication from local government about delimitation. We need to reduce our wards and our districts into manageable issues. The Constitution says the wards must be of equal size, okay? So if we reduce that, we are able at least to manage things in a better and more scientific manner and try to marry our political boundaries with our administrative districts so that they move in tandem. So that process must be done. Consultations must be done very quickly. They need to be done before the 7th of June. I understand the residents. And then we have also areas that want to be in Harare, which we are providing services for. We are providing services for Mount Pleasant Heights, Caledonia, White Cliff, all over. Everyone wants to be called the Harare. So what we need to do is to be able to incorporate those areas into Harare. And those things must be done immediately. We must consult those residents, the ones that want to be in Harare, they do so. You ask the people who built the new parliament there, they want to live in the rural province or they want to come back to Harare, then we incorporate them properly so that we won't be told to provide services to a whole new town out there without the legal mandate, and we've overlooked, and without them being able to vote. Because I can see the roads to that parliament are facing into Harare. So we need to deal with all those things because the work is going to be more rather than less. But I digress a little bit. Let's get our work done. Now, let's go to the Pomona issue and the Pomona status. Are you the one doing the presentation again? Thank you. Let's do the presentation. On this one, we have to be more specific than you were on the refuse, so that we can really understand what's happening.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Director of Works will present a report, TC, to the Special Council on the status of the Pomona Waste to Energy project. Council to note the status of the Waste to Energy project with Geogenics BV. I think before presenting the report, in summary, the project is the implementation stage now of the project. So you find that the report is giving a chronology from the inception to where we are to date. So Council received several project proposals for the Pomona Waste to Energy project. Some is unsolicited bids, and some is a response to the expression of interest, which was published by Council. In 2016, we received some, and some were received in 2019. The 2016 bids were cancelled in 2018 after the bids became invalid. Then the 2019 process was concluded, but however, there was no successful bidder as observed by the city of Harare. Then in sometime in 2019, Integrated Energy BV submitted a proposal to Council, which went through the Joint Environmental Management Committee, Business, Finance and Development Committees. And then at their meeting of 30 April, it was resolved that the town clerk engages in negotiations with the then prospective investor. Any agreement then could not be reached because due to the financial model, the business model, which was found not favorable to the city. Then sometime in 2020, again, the first quarter of 2020, the prospective investor again submitted another proposal where they were now changing the model from a BOT to a BOOT, which are abbreviations from a build, operate and transfer to build, own, operate and transfer. Then first, the engagements on this matter were affected by the onset of COVID-19. We all appreciate that in the beginning of 2020 there was COVID-19. Then somewhere along the lines, the investor, Integrated Energy BV, then changed their name from Integrated Energy BV to Geogenics BV, and the city of Harare was advised through a correspondence from them. Then in January 2021, there was engagement from the Minister of Local Government and Public Works, whereby the city responded and advised the Minister of Local Government and Public Works in terms of the progress with the waste-to-energy project in the city. Then you find that item 5.7 summarizes engagements which happened mainly in 2021, whereby the town clerk engaged with ZITA, seeking opinion on the way forward in terms of the projects. Then you find in 2021 February there was engagement where the TC also was seeking advice on ZITA on the way to have the financial model be further assessed. On the first quarter of 2021 again, there were engagements between the TC again with the Minister of Local Government, whereby it was mainly the issue of progress being requested and being reported to the ministry. Then in March again, the Permanent Secretary for the Minister of Local Government and Public Works advised the city recommending guidance in terms of engagement to this project, to ZITA, which is here you see that the Permanent Secretary was advising the city to engage ZITA on further advice in terms of engagement. And then there was a meeting held at the city where it was attended from City of Harare officials, ZITA, Minister of Finance and Minister of Local Government, whereby the proposal was deliberated at length. Recommendation from the meeting were documented and consolidated by ZITA and submitted to Cabinet Committee on Joint Ventures. Then on June 9, there was a correspondence from the Minister of Local Government and Public Works, whereby it was brought to the attention of the city decisions which have been made at the 7th Cabinet meeting of 2021. June 15, there was a correspondence from ZITA advising and inviting the acting town clerk and the city to a meeting with the delegation of Geogenics BV. And then the meeting then was conducted subsequently, and there was officials from the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works and ZITA during the period. From the meeting, I think there was, the result from the meeting was that there was an MOU which was signed between the City of Harare and Geogenics BV. The MOU had two key points to be addressed or to be looked into, which was execution of a bankable feasibility study, and then there was also an issue of due diligence on the prospective investor then, Geogenics BV. Then the due diligence was conducted on the investor. This was done in September 2021. There is a report on this due diligence visit. Then after, sometime in between October and November 2021, the city engaged on a process to identify an independent consultant to execute the bankable feasibility study as part of fulfillment of the signed MOU. The process was not successful. Then there was an effort again to engage directly another consultant after advice from or recommendation from the Minister of Local Government and Public Works on the feasibility study. Then during the course of trying to engage the consultant, there was a meeting held at the Office of the President and Cabinet, chaired by the Deputy Chief Secretary responsible for special infrastructure projects, appointed by the Cabinet to chair the waste-to-energy project. In attendance was the OPC, COH, and ZITA officials. From the meeting, City of Harare was advised that there was no need for a bankable feasibility study. In December 2021, Cabinet directed Chairperson of the Steering Committee to proceed with the negotiations on the implementation of the project. Then there were invitations made from from the Ministry of Local Government to invite the prospective investor then to come for memorandum of agreement negotiations. Then there were 2 preparatory meetings before the negotiations of the agreement, and in attendance were representatives from the OPC, the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works, the Attorney General's Office, ZIDA, City of Harare, Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, and ZESA. Then in 2022, the negotiations were then finally held. Then also the negotiation documents are available. Then the MOA was then signed in March 2022. Then the project was awarded the national project status between March and April, and also the sovereign guarantee was also awarded during the same period. Then the handover to site was done on the 20th of April 2022, and this was following the signing of a joint statement on the 27th of April 2022. There was an agreement for joint operations of the site until the 20th of May, whereby after this date the site will be fully handed over to the now contractor on site. Then on 12 May 2022, the city, in response to a letter from the Minister of Local Government and Public Works requesting for progress on the project, the city responded and advised on the status and the progress on the project. Thank you, Your Worship. This is the report as tabled for this meeting.
Thank you very much. You mean, so eventually, when we say there is more bankable feasibility start, it means we don't know whether this project is bankable or not. No one knows. Is there an intention? Is the intention to do it? What is the intention? How do we proceed? Or how do we get to a situation where we get into a contract without a bankable feasibility study?
The developers in their own studies, feasibility studies, with their figures.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
I was saying the developers in their own feasibility studies, but our MOU indicated that we needed to do an independent study for council, and I think we advertised for international. There was an international tender that was done for. We're looking at the big accounting firms to come in and look at the projects and benchmark, so that they can give us advice, because we have no access to figures from international. But that tender did not get a response, and then we went further to ask at the ministry if we, in consultation with the, I was saying we asked for permission since we did not get any responses for the international tender that we did for our own independent vehicles study, feasibility study. Went to tender for international. I don't know when was that, but last year. But we didn't get any responses. We're targeting big international companies like Ernst & Young, Coopers, and so on. We thought we could get some of those to come in advance, but we did not get a good response. We did did not get any response. And then we further went to the ministry and asked for permission to directly appoint or seek a company, an international company, which we did. I don't know, engineer. We approached a South African company. Yeah, with I think with a local branch. We approached them, and they did not give us a response again. We sent an international accounting company. We sent an inquiry. We sent them terms of references on the work that we were looking for them to do for us, and then we did not get a response. I think that's the point at which the minister said, okay, let's work with the available feasibility study, which is the one that was presented by George.
So they did there. We don't have an independent.
We failed to get a...
Do we even have theirs?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
That is the one that was negotiated
By the minister.
by all the joint negotiating, the other parties that came into the final negotiations, which is Minister of Finance, Reserve Bank, Attorney General, Minister of Local Government, and all the other parties that the engineer has mentioned.
Okay. You are not speaking figures. To be paying this company something, isn't it? Per day. Your report, I hear you, but it lacks figures. Are we paying them anything? Or are they paying us? From what I understand, so that I don't beat around the bush, we are supposed to be paying, there is a guaranteed minimum of tonnage, where we actually pay this tenant money for our property. Is that accurate? And that we are supposed to pay 550 of equivalent of tons per day, which will grow up to 1,000 tons per day. What is the rationale behind that, if that is true? And what are we going to get? And then also we are the ones who carry the rubbish to Pomona like we've always been doing. Is that so? You want to ask?
Okay, I think I was just trying to get an opinion from maybe from the chamber and the mayor. Since this matter is before the court, it seems it would not be wise for us to, if the mayor and the councillor, the documents are available for their perusal, but I think it might not be wise, I don't know, with the chamber secretary for us to take out all the documents. Maybe it can be done either by a committee or the mayor can ask for the documents.
Sorry.
The way forward, look, they were whispering to me here that the various interpretations that the matter is before the court. And I said that we issued a public notice to everyone are interested in this matter, that we were going to discuss the Pomona issue. And when we issued that, we have not received an interdict, we have not received any attempt to at stopping us, or a letter. And as far as we are concerned, we derive our positions, even our reactions to court cases, we derive them from the council. Whether we prosecute something or we don't prosecute something, we derive it from the council. And I believe that at the end of the day, it is council that is going to pay. It is council that is paying, it is cancelled. Because if we are going to be paying amounts of money and we fail to pay salaries, it is not going to be a private matter. If we fail to, if we pay an operations, or if we are going to liquidate the council because we have got and entered a contract without a bankable feasibility study, without anything, and we are going to pay the amount, then surely we should be able to discuss it. We cannot close our eyes. If there was an interested party who felt that they wanted to stop the proceedings of this council, they should have made an application to do so and say, yes, we are stopped. We noticed that you are going to discuss this. We've now applied to make you stop. And if a High Court judge had made us stop, then we would stop. But I don't see an interdict. I don't understand why we should stop discussing. And we've simply made a simple inquiry. Are we paying anything per day? Or not? If we are paying, someone says yes. If we are not paying, someone says no. If we are paying, how much are we paying and why? In as much as you are giving us the report of all those other things of what happened. So my question is very simple, say, before you get questions from other councillors. Are we paying anything and how much?
Your Worship, I think through the TC, probably that maybe the figures, they're supposed to be attachments, the contract document which had all the figures and everything. But in terms of the MOA signed, the minimum tonnage is indeed 550 tons, which is going to have a cumulative increase to 1,000 tons in a 5-year period. And then the gate fees are $40 per ton, from which the city is also going to be receiving, I think, 40% of the electricity sales, which are going to be invested from there.
Oh, he's saying that we are paying. All right, that's fine. Let me question so that because some of the questions are common, so that we move. The contract requires us to pay, isn't it? How much does it require us to pay per day? That's the question. If it's you said 40 US per ton. So it's per ton. Yes. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. I think there's a question which was raised by the town clerk. I think it was prudent the chamber secretary to advise the house before we proceed. That since you are also cited in the matter at the courts, both yourself, Councillor Mutizwa, and the city, that are we privy to go into details of this matter before we proceed? Thank you.
Firstly, can you answer? Sorry. I hear and I've already made a pronouncement on that issue. But what I wanted him to, it's very basic. He has already described the process of getting the contract. I'm simply asking, are you trying to say the residents who are going to pay are not supposed to know how much they pay? It's not going to affect anything. It's simply for him to say, as of today, we are supposed to pay this much per ton. He says that, he has already described all other processes, and then I hear, and we move on. I've not asked for a very difficult and a question that is hidden. So he's an engineer and a mathematician. Just answer quickly.
Thank you. Like I confirmed, Your Worship, that indeed the tonnage from the beginning first year will be 550 tons per day, and the cumulative tonnage is going to be 1,000 tons per day for the next, after 5 years, for the next 30 years, due to the size of the plant and the energy to be generated in terms of megawatts.
So in US dollars, how much is that?
And then the tonnage per day is $40 per ton.
So if it's 1,000 tons, it's 40,000 US per day.
We multiply by 40 or so.
40,000.
We multiply by 40 or so.
Okay, and is this figure excluding or including taxes?
Finance people have to assist me.
All right. No, that's fine. But let me get to the councillors so that they can ask if they have any questions. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. In terms of the concerns raised by the TC, by my fellow councillors, I just want to take the House to section 100 of the Urban Councils Act. And it reads, special committees. 1. A special committee may at any time be appointed A, by the executive committee, or B, by a council, subject to the following provisions. Why am I referring to that? I've heard concerns about those who are interested in the legal lacuna, whatever you want to call it. Therefore, I'm moving a motion for council in terms of the section that I've read, section 100, to set up a special committee to look into this matter with a committee of 7 people that will report within 14 days, that is 2 weeks, to council. And the terms of reference of this committee shall be as follows. Number 1, to examine the circumstances, actors, processes, timelines of the events leading to the signing of the Pomona Waste to Energy Agreement and the level of consultations undertaken, taking into cognizance that we are answerable to the residents of the city of Harare, that exceeds 2 million. Number 2, examine the legal framework under which the Pomona Waste Energy Agreement was executed, paying attention to the procurement procedures of the city of Harare, of the Harare City Council, and the laws of the land. Number 3, conduct a due diligence of the company awarded the contract and its capacity, and highlight the level of disclosure or non-disclosure of material information prior to the execution of the agreement. Number 4, examine the economic, financial impact of the agreement to the city council and its residents and the ratepayers, like what I've said, that exceed 2 million. In particular, examine whether the city of Harare has the capacity to meet its obligation as stated in the contract. We have all read the contract. Number 5, examine the extent to which the city of Harare complied with the recommendation of the Auditor General on the implementation of the Waste to Energy project to the city. Number 6, make recommendations on all of the above and other relevant recommendations, and to report on the findings of the recommendations to the City Council through the Office of the Mayor and through a special council from the date of the commissioning of the inquiry. Last but not least, also whether it followed procedure of council in the decision of the meeting and in the signing of the agreement. So I move this motion, Your Worship.
Okay. There's a motion to create a special council, a special committee, which we are entitled to do so in terms of section 100 of the table. Yeah. So which we are entitled to do so. Can we have a second? There's a hand there. Yes, Councillor Marshall.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I would like to second
the motion of Councillor Duma.
Okay.
And also the issue to deal with the allowance of that special committee. We'll refer to the finance committee to deal with it.
It follows the course. So we have a motion to set up a special committee. Is there a counter motion? There's someone who is vehemently opposed? Yes.
Sorry, not on that.
No, yeah. I mean, you have to consider.
Yeah, I
There's
want to
someone.
propose something.
Yes, is there anyone opposed to the setting up of a special committee to investigate this thing? No. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was of the opinion that is it not prudent for us to hear from the Chamber Secretary whether we will be still in the confines of the law to counter-investigate an issue which is before the courts. May you give the Chamber Secretary an opportunity to advise this council correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There is no one opposed to the motion. Is there? No. Good. So the motion carries. Now, what we want to do is are there with any questions or any other questions to this and other issues? Yes. To the presentation by the, is it a question to the presentation?
Yes, it's a question, Your Worship. I think we hear this issue of moving a motion to set up a special committee to go through whatever this process. But I'm also of the view that it was prudent to hear from the Chamber Secretary before we go into... Am I protected?
Wait, Councillor. Let him finish. I can clearly understand what he's saying.
Thank you, Your Worship.
But are you repeating what Councillor Metu said?
Yeah, I'm not repeating what Councillor Metu is saying. It's a different question altogether.
Okay, say it.
Ndati nini nechivanhu handizvo here kuti Chamber Secretary mubvunzo wabvunzwa vanofanira kunge vatipindura before tisati taenda kuti titi taakuda kuita a special committee inorana whatever the processes dzinoda kuti dzirana, so that we know the decision to take.
Okay, that's fine. I think I heard the councillor in Museum. I've already made a ruling on that issue. I've already made a ruling on that issue as the chair of this meeting. And I did make the ruling and said that we've already proceeded and we are proceeding to discuss the issues that relate to council. If there is someone who is opposed to that motion, they will stand up and say, I'm opposed to the motion. But if not, we need to move on to the other issues to discuss around the Pomona Deal. I have already indicated that if there was an interested party who was interested in stopping us, this meeting was notified to all interested parties. We have not received any application to stop us or any interdict. We are discussing the status of Pomona as it continues and as it states and affects council. So I need contributions that move this debate forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Your Worship, as a follow-up question.
No, it's okay. Let me ask.
Is that the procedure?
Yes, that's the procedure. I'm following.
I think you are not answering me properly.
That is the procedure.
The duty of the Chamber Secretary is to advise this House, not yourself to advise this House. If you were the Chamber Secretary, I could have directed this question to you. But at this juncture, you are not the Chamber Secretary. That's why I refer my question to the Chamber Secretary to advise this House so that we do things which are according to the law.
Do you want to be the mayor?
No, so do you want to be the Chamber Secretary?
Yes, I'm telling you.
No, I need to be guided. I need to be guided. That's why I answer you this question. I need to be guided.
No, I'm guiding you.
You cannot guide me because I asked you. You also cited by the courts as the respondent. So that's the duty of the Chamber Secretary to advise this House. It's clear. It's simple. The Chamber Secretary is here.
All right. Let the Chamber Secretary say whether there is anything that bars us from discussing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Maybe the the issue that we had raised first related to the issue of subsidies, where we might have challenges with regard to publication of matters that are already pending before the courts. For example, in the case of Pomona, we have a matter wherein council is being sued by some stakeholders regarding the whole deal. But the concept of subsidies relates to the issue of publication of such matters that are pending. But all the same, it being a public interest matter, council at the moment is not necessarily barred from considering those issues relating to that whole deal. And then going back to section 100 of the Urban Councils Act, it does not bar council from appointing committees to deal with specific matters. So I take note that
Thank you.
since there has been a motion to consider, since there's been a motion, I'm saying since there has been a motion which has been put and which carried a day to have a special committee to consider these issues. The committee can proceed to look at those issues. It has nothing to do with the court processes because that special committee will not bar the court process from proceeding. I think the court will still find, it will still make its own finding based on what has been submitted before the court.
Thank you, Chamber Secretary. That is why I was asking the councillor whether he wants to be the mayor. But anyway, we have the answer here.
But to ask the councillor whether you want to be the mayor, but you have to go things consider.
Yeah, you've been answered. Let's proceed. Let's proceed. Let's keep this. Let's keep this civil. Let's keep this civil. Let's keep this civil. Let's move on. Are there people who have other contributions on this issue?
Before I give my contribution, I wanted to address what the Chamber Secretary said. I agree that it is not a sub judice issue. It's a lease pendants issue, I understand, but for it to be rendered a sub judice issue, we needed a court order to validate it as such. Your Worship, you understand that residents have taken seat of Harare to court over the Pomona Deal, and I understand that in the litigation proceedings, seat of Harare has filed an opposition to the court application. I would like to move a motion that this esteemed council instruct the town clerk to revoke the opposing affidavits, thus withdrawing the opposition. And I understand that one of the applicants is Honorable Alan Markham, and I would like to make it known to the Harare North residents and the Active residents that their MP, Alan Markham, and Councillor Elvis Rosani are in sync and moving at the same wavelength with regards to the Pomona Deal. Further to that motion, Your Worship, I would like to move that any legal issues to do with the Pomona Deal be first be brought to this council and deliberated for approval before the council officials take any position. So I implore the city officials to occupy their proper domain, that's to be guided by the resolution of this house. Thank you, Your Worship.
Is there anyone opposed? Yes, there's no, the minutes takers taking the minutes. Yes, good. So there's no opposer to that motion. That's fine. Is there another issue? Yes.
Ndafara kwazvo. Chinondishamisa ndechokudai kuti tese tiri pano tiri makansela nemimeya motoshinga kuzvishunhura kuda kufamba muri musvo muchibuda panzava zvinokosha chaizvo muchiendesa ndorevei. I'm saying that contract, it has to be suspended with immediate effect. Why am I saying so? The staff, they must be in denial on that deal or any permission to engage themselves in that cooperate with the company. I don't know what is their name. So that, in shape of that, any form of rubbish must be put in that condition where they were before. Tidzokere pazvakanga zviri pakutanga ndopandoda kuti tidzokere. So inini I'm saying good that contract it has to be suspended and revert back kwatakanga tiri, and the employees they must take orders from here, not from that companies. Thank you.
I second the motion.
I think suspension even after pending the finalization yes special committee.
Yes.
Voya kuno kuchi kukanzo. I'm not saying suspension should be with immediate effect. Suspension should be with immediate effect. But in the process, special counsel didn't hit a basarai.
That's fine. So, do we have an opposer? Do we have anyone opposing? Good. So that's fine. Since we have set up, there are a few legal issues that the chamber would like to highlight in a little bit. But since we have set up a special investigation committee, we might not need to detain ourselves further with debating the issues and the various issues that are arising and any other issues of illegality or legality or otherwise can be raised with the special committee. I undertake to name the special committee within the next 24 hours in terms of Section 100 and the mandate that have been given to me and the time frame, the strict time frame that we have set ourselves. Yes, I am aware that there are consequences when you suspend a contract. This is what they were highlighting to me. I am aware that there are consequences, but that is the resolution, and we have to take some of those consequences on the chin. We are not the advisors of external parties. And I've noticed that in all these things, the councils and from the report, our council officials were sheepishly agreeing to everything. They were sheepishly being told what to do by this office and that other office. That is not the procedure. It does not mean if you are called to a meeting by the Reserve Bank, by the Attorney General, by whoever, you have to agree to everything. You are told no bank police, you agree. You are told you are going to do this, you agree. You are told do that, you agree. In that report, I did not hear any instance where the city official said no on behalf of the city. Said no, I need to get back to the officials. I think everybody who is in this council chamber must understand that primarily we are here to do what is in the best interest of council. That is what we are here to do. We are employed as councillors, as council officials. The residents do not expect us to be pushed around by any office, any other office that is doing their own job. We have workers to pay. We have assets that have been given to us since 19 Kochanembe. Assets that have belonged to the council. We have lost our power stations. We have lost our roads. We have lost Pomona Dam site. We keep losing and losing. No one gives to the city council. Everyone wants to live in Harare. No one gives to it. Parliament is here. That same Reserve Bank lives here in Harare. All those officials you are talking about have got houses in Harare. But every decision that is being made is made against the interests of the citizens of Harare. We cannot be parasitic. We cannot have a parasitic relationship to the city, where we always take from it. We take buildings, we take money, we take assets, we take and take and take and take. No one talks about anyone who has given to the city. Zupco was taken. Everything is being taken. We cannot have a relationship like that. When you are called to discuss by a minister, by an official of government, by anybody, know that you are wearing the jacket of the city of Harare, a city that was built by the blood and sweat of many generations before you. And those generations built the city not for us to give it away. Why should we give away the whole city? Everything in the city, everyone is taken. There is a letter from this person. There is a meeting by this person. There is an instruction by this person. Are they God? That you have to listen to their every instruction. Who will defend the city if it's not us? We must defend this city. This is one of the oldest cities in Africa. One of the best cities in Africa. And we have allowed it to be taken, to be abused, and no one defends the city. We should come to a point where we say no. No, it's enough. Stop taking. The residents keep crying. They know how beautiful Harare was. Most of them are old enough to know how beautiful Harare was. So as we close this meeting, and as we appoint this special committee, I want to know who is that person who thinks that their job is to take away from Harare to the extent of taking a dump site. You are tired of taking everything. You now want to take where we put our rubbish. Where we even put our rubbish. What is next? So we must understand that we are here to defend the city of Harare. If you don't want to defend the city of Harare, don't be an employee, don't be a councillor, allow people to take everything so that we know that people don't want to represent the city of Harare. So I want to close it here is on these few words. We know, energy, waste energy. These are simple things that everyone has done everywhere in the world. They have international best practice. I was talking to the engineer here. He's an engineer. He knows, he was telling me that there are standard contracts for these things, isn't it? There are standard contracts for many of the many things. And we can't have an unstandard contract. So let's close this meeting. Let's get, yes, you wanted to say?
Thanks, Your Worship. I understand your frustration, Your Worship. And we share the same frustration. But I was of the proposal that we adjourn for some minutes so that we consider the names for that special council meeting, rather than to wait or to call for another meeting to adopt those names.
The Chamber Secretary says it's not necessary. Yes. I will be able to give you the names and those names.
We mandated.
Yeah, and I'll be mandated. They will be valid. I hear your concern, There will be councillors. I can name the councillors that will be there in the committee. Councillor Ian Makone will be in the committee. Councillor Charumbira will be in the committee. And Councillor, what's his name? Duma will be in the committee. So,
Gender, your worship.
and then gender, Councillor Kazombe will be in the committee.
It's an all-boys club, right?
Yeah, we can't have an all boys club. Okay, that's fine. So let's get this out. Why the other members might need to come from council, outside council, we might need a lawyer and a technical expert in that council to understand what we are talking about. Yes.
So maybe we can fine tune in terms of the composition, but I was thinking that 4 I think is a big number. For councillors, maybe we also need outsiders. So I think maybe we can reduce to 3. Maybe we can also discuss with them outside this meeting, so that we can make final
That's fine. Let's not get into specifics. I just wanted to allay the fears of the councillor. It is in terms of section 100. It then allows the committee itself to get some members, to drop members, just in case someone flies away or something happens to them, you are able to replace the members as a committee yourself once you have chosen a chairperson. So there's some issues that the chamber secretary wants to put on record. So let me just whisper with him so that I understand what it is he wants to put on record. And then so I'll say what he wants to say. Yes?
Before you proceed, I think it should be put on public record that myself, I have registered my reservations about the motion that has been moved. And I will be part of those after the talks will be concluded this issue. Thank you, Your Worship, Bishop.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is that there are issues that I've been advised of, that one.
And I'm also.
So let's say there are 2 issues. Wait, let's get to a close of the special council meeting. The first issue that he was going to raise, I have raised it, that there are consequences, that he has advised me, that there are consequences if one suspends a contract, isn't it? Yes, and to terminate that contract. So I don't know whether you can get that because you're not the lawyer for the other side. The lawyer of the other side know the consequences if anything happens. It's written in black and white. We have received your advice. The advice from the chamber secretary is that should the contract be terminated, there are clauses that penalize the one who has terminated the contract. I cannot go further than that because we will then end up giving legal advice to the other side. So we understand in every contract there is a consequence to that, and we will meet the consequence when it comes. So Chamber Secretary, I've told the whole chamber your concern. The second concern is that they wanted to explain that they had opposed the application on technical issues. And there were some issues that they thought they were misleading, and they wanted that to be alerted to the House. But are you saying they should change the motion, or you just want to alert?
Obviously, that contribution would affect how people will make decisions on it. Because the town clerk has to maintain that statement because it clarifies certain issues that are not correct. Obviously, the judge will then come up with his own judgment after having looked at all the documents before him.
So that's
it's up to
fine.
the court, but obviously there's no need, in my view, for the acting town clerk to then change that affidavit and clarify certain issues that were created.
Look, okay, that's fine. So he has said what he has said, but the motion says what it is saying. So what we will do is to look at how those two will marry and as we move forward. So we've got the motion worded as it has said. He has expressed his views, which can be noted, and then we see how we proceed. So I want to thank you all for attending this meeting. Can we have a closing prayer?
Can we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you this afternoon for the wonderful meeting. We thank you, Father, for helping us into removing this deal. We thank you, Father, for the committee that have been elected, which we know will work with good faith so that this deal does not exist anymore. We thank you, Father, and we really know and appreciate, Father, the work that has been done by the mayor into securing us, into giving us knowledge into how we can handle this deal. Thank you, Father, for keeping us working with the community. The community has to understand how we feel about this deal. Amen.